Hello everybody, let's jump right into this. Can 112 acres, extremely rural, on ridgetop be a good piece of property to buy to start a farm or homestead? We're going to take a look at this tract today and I'll give you some details. So if you've watched the channel for a while, you know that from time to time I go out and look at tracts of land for people. And in this circumstance, one of the viewers, asked me to take a look at this piece of land that's privately listed and give my thoughts on it. The person's out of state, so I can be his eyes and the boots on the ground to see if it's worth coming to take a look at. So since this is an active listing, all I'm going to say is that I'm in the central part of West Virginia right now. No other details am I going to share there for the sake of the gentleman that asked me to come out and do this. But I want to take a look at this and share some of this with you all so you can see just what West Virginia rural land looks like and some of the challenges and some of the benefits that go along with it. Right now, you can see this is the gas well. So when you look at the satellite imagery and you see that circle on the knob, that's where I'm standing here. So this is the active well. This is the road access to it, and of course the roundabout that they've made. And this is kind of the dead end as far as any substantial vehicle traffic goes. There may be a couple little four-wheeler trails here and there. I'm going to explore and detail those, of course. This property is ridgetop, and you can see there's a lot of sky around. The highest point on the property is actually right here behind this well. And I am facing right now, let's see, yeah, I'm facing due south right now. And so that knoll, depending on where, if you said that was where you wanted to hang out most, then you could get some south-facing, north-facing. Now, of course, any structure close by to this well, there's going to be restrictions, probably 100-foot or 100-yard restriction. I think it's 100 feet restriction that you'll have there. But you know, any other factors go with it. You know, it's not necessarily the prettiest thing to look at. But highest point, the ridge of the land runs this way, and there's a little bit that runs that way. The majority of the land, as you can see from the satellite imagery from that circle lot that I'm standing in, goes this way. So it goes more easterly. So we're going to check that side out. I'm actually going to check everything out, but I'm going to go up first to this this little ridge top here where I discovered a small trail, and I'm going to walk out it and see what we can find. This is the only road access in, and it is pretty rough as far as, you know, standard passenger vehicle goes. I had to be in four-wheel low in my pickup to get out here. So that is something to consider. And it's a pretty good stretch. I believe it's almost a quarter of a mile of road to get out here to the well, the end of the line, which kind of puts you on the front end of the property. What I know about this land is, of course, it does have the active well. It also, the timber is very immature right now because it has been harvested in the last 10 years. In fact, from what I understand, you're about 15 years out from another harvest of timber on this 112 acres. So it has great potential. Stuff's growing back really well, but about 15 years out before you could have another harvest. I'm now going to head east into the thick here, and there's a little bit of a trail that's been cut and hasn't been used very much because everything's still a lot of low branches, logs across the way, so it really doesn't look like there's a lot of four-wheeler traffic. Obviously people getting out to the well site is where the four-wheelers seem to be going, and maybe that's all they want to do. This is walking right along the spine of the ridge. You can see to my right, the gas well would be right back over here, over this hump. Valley drops off this way, drops off that way. So we're walking east toward the property line. We're going to eat about 600 spider webs in the process. So I've been walking a decent distance on this skid road, and it's got a nice flat lay to it for West Virginia. I got to keep knocking webs down if I'm going to walk and talk here. But it's got a nice flat lay to it as far as what I would call a spine of a ridge. So if I was looking to build infrastructure, again, it all becomes an issue of the economy of road maintenance. But this road, I'm going to look back up, so this is looking back west, back toward my truck. Just a slow incline up the hill and a pretty wide ridge here. You're probably 50 to 70 yards before you start to hit the hard break over the hill. So with minimal excavation, you could have a very flat spot. There still is, again, the timbering was a select cut, it looks like. So there's still some decent timber left, some more mature trees. So there's good shade, there's good mass. That's a double trunk white oak with another white oak right behind it. Mass this year's been incredible. I feel like I'm walking on hickory marbles right now. But being ridgetop, with somebody poke a hole in the canopy here, there would be a lot of sky. So you'd have the great opportunity for a lot of solar. You'd have this height, you could probably even justify a little bit of wind turbine action there for power generation. Being on the top of a ridge like this, of course, there's no watershed that you can tap into, but West Virginia red clay, if a person would build an impoundment up here, do some rain collection, you could fill up a pretty good sized pond, and it would probably hold even this high up in elevation, simply because all of our clay. But it looks like we should be getting really close, according to GPS and the property owner's markings on the GPS, not on the property. We should be getting close to the property line. Now I assume there's a logical demarcation. It may be the top of this crest when they actually mark it off, but there's no clear indicator here. There are multiple skid road right-of-ways I can see. Right-of-ways, I gotta call it that. Skid road access remains that are grown over. There's one here. Obviously this is the road I'm walking on. There's another one over here. A lot of access opportunities there. Just opening back up, getting the small growth off of it. So something that could be done with bush hog and a chainsaw could open a lot of these back up. Okay, so on this property, follow this road out to where I think the boundary is going to be or should be. And we've kind of done a east travel and with a little bit of a slope or a little bit of a break to the southeast, south by southeast, and then kind of even hooked around to where this road where I'm standing is almost directly facing due south, which would be right there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to head back, and I started my pedometer, so I want to see exactly how much mileage of this road that I walked out, how much we have here as a good indicator of length. It's the only indicator of length. All right, back out to the truck. And yes, I'm sucking wind a little bit. It's hot today. Yeah, a little bit of sumac action going on there. All right, so back here at the well spot, so what I can consider home base, is where obviously I can get my truck. So I've come back to that spot, and almost directly south, well maybe a little more south-southwest, coming over the bank here, a little bit of a ridge finger that forms, and we may have a little bit of a trail. So we're going to explore that and see what we can find. And I forgot my web stick. We're going to grab another one. This is a really nice road right away. There's a white-tailed deer looking right at me. Two of them. Somebody's taking the time to actually build proper runoff. I just don't see the gas company doing that. That's just me. Maybe that's not a fair assessment, but it looks like it was much more deliberate in having these water bars put in. What am I calling a water bar? I don't know if you can see this, but the road goes right through that multiple rose thicket. But right here is a ditch that just starts and just cuts over to the left. So the idea is water comes down on contour instead of just going on down the road and eating it out. It hits that and goes over. So as I've walked down the hill behind me, I've seen several really nice water bars built that are doing exactly what they're supposed to. So somebody took the time to build them the right way, instead of just putting a speed bump on the road and thinking that would take care of it. So this road came up to this little point. Being covered in trees, really can't show you very well, but it's a nice little knob on the ridge, a little bit lower, probably 75 feet lower, maybe 50 feet lower than where the gas well is and my truck is sitting, but it's a nice little flat point here. So on my walk back from this ridge, let me enumerate some pros and cons. So pros, 112 acres of beautiful West Virginia hardwood. Yeah, who can say no to that, right? Now, I'm a West Virginia boy, so I'm biased. Second pro, for West Virginia to be rural, it is actually only 7 miles from U.S. interstate. So 7 miles only road time, not as the crow flies. It's even shorter road time, or as the crow flies. 7 miles road time away from a U.S. interstate. Another pro, it is less than 20 miles from a major West Virginia city. Another pro is to be this rural, it really has not been ravaged by the local redneckery. The dazzling urbanites in this area have not damaged or trashed this. Unlike my farm 20 years ago, that looked like a landfill. Another pro is that this is really a blank canvas. You can do anything with it. There's no restrictions in this area. Minor building restrictions in this county, still some. But as far as any municipal ordinances, no. You'd only answer to the county and the state in that situation. Cons. Well, one con is the county is located in has a little bit higher property tax than some of its surrounding counties. It does have a gas well in the dead center of it. And oh, would I love to have that spot that the gas well is located to be a primo house seat with a beautiful view. The location of that gas well may allow you to have some partnership and some sharing of road maintenance responsibilities. Because the private road into this tract is a decent little stretch. We'll measure it on the way out. And it would be the property owner's responsibility to maintain it. But with the gas company there could be some assistance as well. Another con, no marketable timber right now, but depending on the plan, with this much acreage under hardwoods, 15 to 25 year plan, you could have a substantial investment there that you could recoup a lot of money on. All right, so that was right at 1/4 mile out there at the point, back here to the truck. So that ridge leg, 1/4 mile, the big ridge leg right at 1/2 mile. So that's a decent amount of ridge line that could become some incredible open area for farming if someone would take the time to clear. So in my opinion, could this tract of land become a suitable farmer homestead? And I would say yeah, I think it could. Now, would I buy this land? And this is just my opinion. If I was 10, 15 years younger and I was looking to start a new project, yeah. For less than $1,000 an acre, I think it's right around $800 an acre, that would be a pretty good entry to be able to get something started. There's going to be a lot of sweat equity in this as far as clearing it if you're going to do livestock. And you're not going to be doing large tillable up here, of course, being on top of the ridge, soil quality, and just the lay of the land. But if I was going to run livestock, if I was going to do a full-scale homestead, and then hopefully have some investment property to grow natural resources later on as I get closer to retirement, then this definitely is appealing to me. One other pro that I didn't mention when I was on the property is the power. I'm here right at the edge of the county road. County road's behind the camera, and there's power that comes up. So behind me is not the land I was on, the 112 acres. There's another 100-acre parcel between us that's actually for sale as well. We didn't walk yet, but power would need to go that way, and that's almost I think it's about a half-mile back there. I'd have to look at the map and confirm. So there would be some power that need to be added, and there would be costs associated with that. It's my understanding as well that there's public water right here in front of me. So there's a potential to have water back on Tract 1 and Tract 2. That would allow some of the issues you'd most likely run into with being this high on the mountain and trying to get a well-producing well, pardon the pun. In this situation, if I was out here, I definitely would consider rain catchment and a cistern. I'd go that direction before I'd start punching holes in the ground or even trying to maybe run city water out. West Virginia gets tons of rain, so you could definitely accommodate yourself if you had a large enough cistern. Get you through the year completely. You know, as a West Virginia boy, there's just something about ridgetop land that is appealing to me. I guess because I live down in the valley. But that's something that's always intrigued me. I've always loved seeing these farms on top of these ridges where they've got the pastures, the rolling pastures that go out the ridge, and you just see all kinds of sky, but you still got the protection of your mountains around you. Beautiful views, you can see the storms roll in. I've always liked that. There's something romantic about that in my West Virginia heart. So this property has that extra appeal to me as well when it comes to looking at the potential. Now it would take a lot of chainsaw time to get those views up. You saw that road that we drove through and the mud issues right now. Keep in mind this is September, so this is dry. In the wintertime, that's going to be a mess. So definitely four-wheel drive, all-terrain vehicle to get back there until you can get some serious road improvements put in. So I would definitely slate something in my budget to have some serious road improvements done first and foremost. Well, I'll be sure to update this property if anything comes along, or if we get an invitation to tour Tract 1, maybe we'll come back for it. But I just want to encourage anybody that's thinking about moving to West Virginia, check it out, do the research. If you can't make it to West Virginia and you want to hire some redneck like me to just walk around with a camera and detail all of the specifics, then I will do so. The guy that asked me to do this, he's covering my time and gas, of course, but I'm producing a much bigger video with a whole lot more detail that only he can see, that details a lot of the features of this property. You know, really explores the pros and cons from my perspective. So if you would be curious about looking into that, or if you need me to take a look at a piece of property for you, you can comment below, or just go to redtoolhouse.com, use that contact form, and you can send me a message there and I'll respond to you. Appreciate y'all walking through the woods with me. Take care. One of the biggest downsides to walking through the woods in the heat of the summer is your neoprene sidearm holster. It's like a sponge. That is nasty. We'll leave that in the sun for a bit to dry out. And yes, in case you guys are wondering, in West Virginia, I can drive with that sidearm on my dashboard, on my seat, on my console. Not the smartest thing in the world to do, but it's completely legal. But we'll put it back where it goes as soon as it dries out.